Hey everybody, hi. I am work in progress towards this week's Mayday Monday, and I thought I would give you an opportunity to see some of my crazy process. I started out, I know what we're going to do, and I started out by putting together a whole bunch of the supplies that we will need for what we're going to actually make, because I'm going to continue along the theme of making things with with mail envelopes. And so I got all those worked together and got those put aside because I need to have a, I guess, something that's finished for you to look at before we're trying to build ours, an example of sorts. So I was digging through my stuff, trying to think of what I wanted to do for the design on this. And as I was flipping through some stuff I had in one of my little plastic containers, I came across this little girl, and I had found this and another one, this one. I had found these two items inside of a library book that okay, one of the most amazing places for you to find stuff for paper crafting and for making neat stuff is to go, junk journals or other things. When you see your neighborhood library and they got a big sign out front that says they're having, their book sale, go there and ask them about where have they got stashed in boxes or whatever, the books that they think nobody's going to want to look at. Usually it's old, worn out, falling apart books, things that are useless to the average person, and they will happily direct you to where it is. There are days where I've gone to these sales and come out with just a few items in my arm, and there are other days that I have gone out with literally boxfuls of stuff, and I have paid as little as $5 for an entire box full of books. So that can be an amazing resource at amazing prices. And I can't tell you how many things I have come across. A 1937 spelling book, an old McGuffey, it's not the Reader, it is an actual McGuffey spelling book. I mean, oh my gosh, old stuff. As far back as the 1800s so far that I've come across at libraries. So you'll find, and sometimes in the children's books, you can find books with gorgeous artistry in them. You can look for things like, you look through the children's books for all sorts of interesting images. Look through for poetry. Look for things like atlases or road maps, things like that. Those can be cool. Just old books with interesting text. Old books with caramelized pages. And what do I mean by the caramelized looking page? Like this. Old books with things written on them, in there. I don't know who, Renisha maybe? Or Renita? I don't know. I can't read it. Anyway, I don't know who that person is, but there's a little note there. I have got textbooks where, like, they're chemistry and math textbooks, and there's, like calculus and stuff, and there's all this stuff where the person was doing their homework in the sides of the page, and their little tiny handwriting of their formulas and how they were solving the problems and stuff. So much neat stuff from the library. So if you find libraries having book sales, go. There is an absolute gorgeous amount of resources. And like I said, these two little framed pictures were sitting inside of a big old book. They were just, somebody had tucked it in there. And so I came across them. I didn't even know they were there till I started browsing through the papers. And I came across them. And so while I was thinking of an example for what we're going to do this week, I saw this and it just slapped me senseless. This is perfect for what I wanted to do. What we're going to do is a really cool book. It is an actual little flip out journal, and it's really pretty. What I'm going to do is use this for my foundation. This is going to be my base page. And all of our papers that we attach to this to create a book are going to be mounted to this. I've got to glue these pieces together so that it's all one piece instead of like this. So that'll be my first thing I do. And then I've got this chipboard that I found. And you can get chipboard like on the back of a legal pad or a drawing pad. There's usually, and it's, as you can tell, it's pretty firm. Because this is going to be something, in Natasha over at Treasure Books, if you look on her page, and it's called Flip Out Tutorials. If I can figure out how to do it, I will put the link to it precisely so that you can see it, because hers, she's got some in here that she did. I will tell you now, everything you look at of hers is absolutely over the top. She is a professional paper artist. She has written a book, a very nice book from what I can see, about bookmaking and journal making, etc. And what she does, everything she does is absolutely over the top beautiful. So don't feel like when you look at her stuff, don't feel like, oh my God, I could never do that. And want to run away screaming. Look at it and go, dang, that's the Mozart of, and the Picasso and the, all the different, when you think of all the different arts and the people who are like amazing at them. She is one of these that's amazing in our world of journal making and book making and just making cool things with paper. So anyway, this is one of her concepts, and I'm sure other people have done it. It's just, this is where I saw it and learned it from. So it's called a flip out book tutorial on her channel, and I'm going to go through and do this in a similar model to how she's done it. It'll be different, of course, because everything you do is different, but it's going to be, the concept is borrowed from her, and she gives her blessings for you to borrow her concept, so that's not an issue. What you do is you're going to use, your foundation piece needs to be fairly sturdy. A piece of cardstock, the one that we are going to make for ours, where I make the whole thing with you, for our personal one, is going to, for our Mayday Monday. This is a cover to a teacher's roll book. I used it at work one year when I was doing, being a nurse educator, and I had to keep up with all the staff and all their educations and information that was done. I used this thing for that. But after I left that job, I still had my notebook, of course, because that was my personal item that I had purchased. And I kept it, and I disassembled it when I started doing this. And as you can see, this is part of the thing. I cut it down to size that I wanted. And this is what we're going to do. One of the fun things that you can do, I didn't do this on the things we did last couple of weeks, but one of the fun things that you can do, if you have a sewing machine, you can actually sew on paper, and it comes out really cool. This is a little sewn design, and it's just one of the stitches on my sewing machine. I did not have a sewing machine. I had long ago gotten rid of the sewing machine that I had. And because when I went to nursing school and started doing nursing, I did not have the free time to do crafting anymore. I just did not. I worked a lot of hours, and nursing school was an average of probably close to 100 hours a week, and I was still working. So it was, I didn't have time for crafting at all. And so I had given away my sewing machine long ago. And so I didn't have one. And my dear friend Rebecca, who is going to do some sewing things with us later on, she has several sewing machines, because she is very, very gifted in quilting and making things, and, just sewing a lot of stuff. And so she has three or four different sewing machines. Every serger, and she has one of those giant quilting machines that, with a big arm thing that you go back and forth with and make it quilt the design, whatever. She has one of those. She has a Husqvarna machine that does even embroidery and the fancy, doing embroidery and personalization, and she has all these different machines. And she was, I was explaining to her about how, that, yeah, in the same way that she does sewing on fabric, that I could do sewing on paper. And I told her I don't really do it because I don't have a sewing machine anymore, but you can do that. And I showed her some examples of it. And a few weeks later, she was like, when we were talking one day, she said, you need to come over to the house. She said, I need to send you home with something. And I was like, oh, okay. And when I got there, she surprised me and blessed me with one of her sewing machines. And she gave me this Brother Project Runway limited edition. It has like 99 stitches. I mean, this is a beautiful sewing machine. And she gave it and gifted it to me to do my paper, or if I ever decided to go back and do fabric and, and that kind of sewing again myself, because I have a long history of quilting and sewing myself. I just haven't done it, in the past several years I've been doing this. And so it was really, really, I was just overwhelmed. And so that's what I did with this, is I did a little decorative stitch all the way around. And this is going to be our base piece. And I'm sorry I don't have any way to show you a picture of what we're doing, but I'm going to try to help make it make sense. What we're doing is, this is a foundation piece. And when we're done with the book, we're going to mount it on a wrapped, so it's pretty, piece here, so it will protect all of this, all the stuff, and what we've put on it, the book that we're making, will be protected by the base. And plus it'll add a little bit more structure and reinforcement to it. So that's where that's going to in the long run. So when I show you what we're doing with this, and the papers and how we're adding them, it'll make sense as to how we're covering up, how we're adding them. So what we're going to do, and forgive me, I'm just going to let you come along for the ride. And I'll cut out parts of it. What we're going to do is we're going to select papers. And I went through, I have all these pictures. I have all these papers. I have a whole book of couture from 1880 to 1980. And it's, and then I had a bunch of scrapbook paper with some pretty kind of, these fancy Paris and, all that kind of junk. And I never use these papers for anything. I just don't. I mean, this is not me. I love nature, and I lean towards more nature and things, and like book things. I don't lean towards this. I'm not a girly girl. Never have been my whole life. I'm just, I prefer jeans and a comfortable shirt than, all this stuff. I don't even own a dress at this point in my life. Literally, I do not own a dress. I don't like them. So I don't wear them. But yeah, this is, I've got all this paper of scrapbooking paper. And I haven't made much of anything out of any of this. Some of these little things, now, when it looks like ads, that I'll cut up and use in making stuff. But this stuff that has like, that kind of stuff, I wouldn't. There is nothing in this world I'm going to make with that. So I've had all these papers hanging out forever. And I saw this picture, and it just kind of clicked in my head, because I had passed by a bunch of this paper while I was selecting papers for what we're going to do for our project. And I'm just letting you in on what it looks like when I make the sample. And I just thought it might be fun. I may or may not even publish this, depending on how it goes. But anyway, so we're going to use these papers as part of what we're doing with this. And no, I don't have it all together, so you're going to come along the ride while I make it. So what I need to do, though, first is put together this photo so that it's all in one piece instead of three pieces, because it no longer has the plastic around it that was making the frame, where it... Now I want to put some right on the edge here. I don't want it real heavy because I don't want it squirting out. And if it gets too heavy, I'll squish it. I'll finger smoosh it and make it better. But I want to put this just down all the way around here in preparation. Yeah, I'm going to have to finger smoosh this in preparation for gluing these together, because I want to make this all one piece. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue here and there, all the way around. And let's do a bit of smooshing for the edges. Kind of smoosh this out so it goes to the edges, but doesn't roam out off the edges a whole lot. And believe it or not, my fingers should be actually clean, except for ink off of these things that I've been working with. But I did wash my hands after I came in from the barn, of course, because I am Maggie's hair for the spring coat. Her winter coat is coming out by the handfuls, which is lovely. She has a beautiful winter coat. It's so soft and fluffy. Makes her feel like a teddy bear. And oh my gosh, when I'm out there and sitting in the barn with her on freezing cold days, it is so nice to be able to just snuggle up next to her and put my hands in her fur. Or put, you know, my... Hang on. Let's put this down. When you're doing this, because this is cut already perfectly, the easiest thing to do, tap it in place and then secure it down here. And yeah, this is some kind of a print. Has information on the back of it, and forgive me, I just glued down the information, but it's some kind of a print from some artist. This actually is a well-known artist, apparently. Not somebody I was familiar with, but then again, I'm not a massive, art fan, so forgive my lack of culture. Okay, I gotta get this glue better. A second, it's not coming out real well. And now I've got glue all over my fingers. Where'd I put my baby wipes? One thing that is helpful, if you've got some baby wipes, they can come in really handy around the craft table, I tell you. When I am inking and stenciling and doing stuff like that, and my hands are getting covered in ink, it is lovely to be able to pick up a baby wipe and help clean them off. And this doesn't do perfectly well for the silicone glue, honestly, but it at least helps me get it more or less off my hands. Takes a moment, but it helps me get it somewhat off my hands. As I say this while I'm trying my best to scrub this goop off my hands. Sorry, half dry glue is not the easiest thing to play with. This getting down towards the bottom of this glue. That's why it's doing this, I guess. Okay, so let's get going here. We'll get this. Put a little bit more on this because last time I didn't have quite enough to do an effective smoosh. So we'll put down a little bit extra. I'll smoosh it inwards if it's too much. There we go. That'll work. Oh, no, you don't. Gonna go squishing everywhere. Hate it when it does that. Okay, it does like a volcano. It goes squeezing out everywhere on its own. Yeah, annoying. Alright, so how's everybody doing? Hope y'all are doing well. I had fun today. Went out and got grain for the horse and some horse treats and food for I feed possums and raccoons and whoever happens to come by. I have a little armadillo that comes by, but he doesn't eat the cat food I put out for him. He comes through and looks for bugs in the yard, insects. So that's what they eat. And it's so cute. I can always tell when he's been by. And he's utterly adorable. He's a young one. And he's really cute. He doesn't bother anybody. He just comes through the yard, eats, and goes on his merry way. Really sweet little guy. But yeah, when they come, or when he comes, it's like I can always, spot him if sometimes he's out even in the daytime, which is usually because it's mom who is either pregnant or is feeding babies, because they are little ones that actually feed their babies, as far as I know. I have not looked up all their particulars. I know possums pretty well, and I know raccoons because they live in my neighborhood. Okay, so this is down. Now, once again, I got to get all this glue off my hands real quick because my hands are covered in glue. And I don't want to get it on the front of this frame. Now, what we're going to do, anyway, I was having fun with my stuff today, and got home and loved on Maggie and groomed her. And she's so funny. I told her I got treats when I went to the store and got the grain. And for me, I used to be able to drag a 50-pound bag of feed without too much trouble, pre-COVID. And now it's like it's all I can do to drag it into the wagon or into the cart from the seat of the truck, and then pull the cart into the barn, and it's a lot different. And sometimes I get a little discouraged with that. Like today, the feed was in a little towards the front, and so it was like, when it came, when I tried to bring the cart in, I tried to turn the cart around so I could pull it. And when I did, the feed, somehow the weight of the feed caused the thing to fall forward completely. I mean, like completely fall down. And because of that, I could not, oh gosh, I couldn't pick it up. I mean, it took me a good 10 minutes of all my might pulling on that thing in order to be able to get it up from laying sideways on the ground. I had sweat pouring off of me, and my body was screaming. And yeah, it was tough. Times like that are a little bit discouraging for me. I don't know if y'all have times where you get discouraged, but it's just part of life now, and you do what you got to do, and you get by. And so that's exactly what I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches by, what do we got here? 6 inches by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 6 by 8. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut my paper down. Hang on, let me grab my cutter. Got it here next to me. I'm going to cut this down to 6 inches in height, because we want everything to be no taller than what we're doing. And so I'm going to get right here and cut this puppy down to 6 inches. Wait a minute, I'm going the wrong way. I want it to be 6 inches this direction, not that one. Now let's see how that cuts things off at 6 inches. Okay, that gets all these little ladies' feetsies and stuff like that in here for one row of them. Now, which one do I want? That one up there, or do I want this set down here? Let me give it a quick look. This one has more people on it, but let me see what 6 inches on this side looks like. This is one of the things you want to do when you're selecting a paper, and it's big like this, and you need to choose which direction you want to go. Okay, now with this, that's got more people, but this, at 6 inches, this is going to cut all this off. So I'm better off going the other direction for my 6 inches. So that's what we'll do. Go this way at 6 inches to make it 6 inches tall, and cut it off. And then this I'm going to set aside because tentatively I'm probably not going to use that. This is what I'll use. Now, if you notice, this paper is only single printed. It's white on the back. So there'll be things that we need to make decisions about what to do on the back. Because the way this is going to go in is you're going to have, let's see here. How do we want to do this? Why does that so not look right? Even though I put that at 6 inches. I know why that doesn't look right. I'm so silly. It's 6 inches wide, not 6 inches tall. Okay, welcome to the wonderful world of figuring stuff out. Alright, so this is going to be a short piece then. And that lets me know on my other ones to be smarter and pay attention, girlfriend, and make it 8 inches. Okay, in that case, let's see what we got here. Welcome to crafting. And yes, it is just like this. When you start doing things, especially when you're sitting here talking while you're doing it, you'd be amazed at how much more you have to think about what you're doing. I may go grab another piece of that. I think I've got the pad of paper right around here somewhere, actually. Yeah, let me set this for the moment aside. I'll make a decision about that. Because what you do is, not all of these papers are going to be 8 inches tall. Some of them are going to be 6 inches, some of them are going to be 8 inches, some of them are going to be 5 inches. I mean, they're just all different sizes. What do I like about this? How tall is this puppy? Okay, I know the page is 12 inches. But out of that 12 inches, when I get down to 8 inches is as far as I can go. That 8 inches would be cutting right about there. That allows a pretty good bit of imagery there, actually. That's pretty nice. Although I hate cutting off the stuff at the top. What I might do, now when you get into something like this, and that you might want to try to save what you got on top there, instead of using the full 8 inches, let's go this way and see what we got. What would we have to cut off to be able to save that, but not ruin this? Let's look at this. That line comes right, you can see the little line here? That's where it comes, right down along here, all the way across. So, the Teasdale Studio, the Film Chic, I was going to see if I could save that F. But if I save that F, the only thing I'm going to give up is part of the word here, Teasdale Studio, and part of this flower. I'll still have the lady's head. Then the other part is, do I want to go the 8 inches? See what the 8 inches this direction looks like. I don't know how much in frame I am here. Hang on, let me look. So I may need to move this up a little bit where you can see it better. Sorry, this is part of me learning still. Gosh, I gotta move all kinds of crap to get up here to get you totally in frame. How about I move the camera instead? Duh. Okay. And looking at this, if I go 8 inches this direction, if I went that, hang on, out of the way, baby wipes. Stuck you right in the way. Love having you, but I stuck you right in the way. And it's an envelope I looked at for stuff. All kinds of things here. Okay, if I went with the 8 inches this direction, it would cut right about there. So you would get just the upper part of the body of that person. And you would cut off the bird. You would get the upper part of the body of the person. You'd get the hat here, and you'd get this whole thing here. That's actually not half bad. Now, if I wanted to chop off a little bit of the top here, if you can see this part here, this is part of, this is supposed to be like a woman's magazine. And it's part of that information there. And then you've got a free gift to Women's World readers. So it's supposed to be like an ad out of a Women's World magazine. So that's what its image is going for. So if you cut this, if you brought it down this way a little bit to where you saved, I don't want to cut the bird in half. That's not going to be productive. But a little over 8 inches here, I would get this lady's entire upper body and enough of this to get all the flowers and to get the hat here that's hanging down except for the very edge of it. I may do that because frankly this is something that's really pretty, and yes, you could say either one is really pretty. In the other direction, I will get the lady's body, all the hats. Okay, let's go with the lady. I'm sorry. And trust me, you ought to listen to some of the people I listen to while they're trying to decide which image they're going to do. And they go back and forth and back and forth. And finally, it's just like, okay, I got to make a decision here. That is the 8 inches we're going to use. All right. Now, the way that we do this, I'm just going to show you right off the bat this first piece so you can see and understand the concept. This is now one piece. This is our base. What we are going to do now with each of these pieces of paper, you choose how you want to do this, but the piece of paper is going to be attached here by this folding over and gluing down here to create a page. And it's going to flip over. It's going to come to here. Now with this, what I was looking at doing with this one, because it's pretty the way it is, what I was going to do is fold it in so that it will flip out. Either that or do a Z fold to make it where it flips out. I don't know. I'll figure that out. But this is going to be folded over somehow. And that's going to make a difference as to how I want to put it on here, possibly. If I want to fold it in this way, then that leaves it white like this. If I want to fold it over this way, then, you know, that has it like that. Which I might do that. And fold it back on itself a little bit. Because that's a large amount to fold back. And you can create like a little Z-fold like that, and you pull it out and get the whole amount. And that's dual purpose there, because this book is wanting to create some space for you to write in, and that is part of the purpose of this as a book. So this whole section back here will be able to be written on. Now, I do want to do some altering of this somehow. Whether it's putting in decoration, whether it's doing some light stenciling maybe, something to do other than just a stark white background. I will ink it to begin with. That'll help tone it down a little bit. Then you've got multiple things you can do. You can do a very light stencil through here and then be able to write over the stencil. Or you can do like soft, just little bits of just plain color. Little bits, and let that be the way we do it. We will do some of all of that in order to kind of show you what we're doing. Anyway, so this is the first page, and this page will be attached here at the base in the back, like so. It'll be glued there. It'll come up here. It'll fold over, and it'll make the first page. And then that page will probably come back like this in a little Z-fold. So that's what we'll do with this first page. And now that we've got a first page, we're going to set that down. We know that's going to do that. Now let's get something else for a second page. Now, we do not necessarily want all these major images to be one right after another, right after another. What we could do is, like this, is advertisements. It's just a, you know, like it's designed to be, once again, free gift to Women's World readers. This is pretend Women's World magazine. So what we could do here, now we've got, this is 6 inches wide by 8 inches tall. So we can go over here, do our 8 inches height, and decide where we would like to do it. Would we like to have these at, okay, here's something given away. Let's try this. Let's go this way. All right, so we go here, we go to our 8 inches, and we will cut this right here. We'll lay this aside because we will use these pieces later on in other places. Same with this other piece. All right, so now we've got this piece. This piece, we may not wish to do that huge foldy thing with this. This is not of a nature that I would be concerned about keeping particular items here. So what we will do with this is choose what we would like to have for our page and what we would like to have. Now this is going to go, that is going, say, that way, and it's going to fold in this way. This is going to alternate, so it will go and mount on this side over here from the back, and it will fold over this way. You don't want to use your entire 6 inches that you have here, because then things are going to get tangled up in each other. So you probably want to do 5 inches, say, to overlap or less. So let's look here and see what we've got. and see how they, let's look at this one since it's going in pretty much, move this out of the way. And yes, we're going to decorate that white frame too before we're done. Like I said, this is not the one I'm doing for us. This is the one I'm making for a sample. Okay, the thing is 6 inches. That actually, what we might want to do here, because that actually gets odd. Let's go here and come over this way just a hair. We're going to cut off this section right here, because that's in the middle of a quote-unquote ad. Get that aside. Now let's try our 6 inches and see where it shows. Okay, that's getting to be a little bit better because it's no longer got this like it is. So we can pull this in to where, this is about where we're going to look for our page to be, roughly. I do want to cut this wider, though, because we got to fold this underneath the base. That's going to have to fold underneath the base and be folded up and come across to be the page that way. So we need extra. And here's our 6 inches, or let's see, how much is that? 5. Okay, about 5.5 inches is what we want to show on the front. And then we want extra to go in the back. So let's just do this thing. I love it, but it is a nuisance, and you got to pull this out at 7 inches because it only has about, okay, so if we want to go, say, 8 inches, that'll give us 2.5 inches to fold over the back. That ought to be plenty. Now, let's look at this. Is there anything on here we'd like to save? Not really. So we'll do that. That's going to be page 2. Yet another scrap out of the way. So, this is going to be page 2, and it is going to fit like this. It's going to tuck in under here, and this is going to come and it'll fold over this way. So, it'll come like this. The first page is going to be underneath it, and it'll be coming this way, and then this is going to go over that way. Each of the pages in this book, it's going to be like a flip-flop. Each one, like page 1 flips this way, page 2 flips that way, page 3 is going to flip that way, and page 4, and it goes on and on and on, as long as pages as you want to do. All right, so this is page 1. Okay, I'm back. I was going to video this part that I've already done earlier, but my phone was dead, so I had to plug it in and let it charge, and I worked while I was waiting for it to charge. So I'm going to back down to where we were originally. Okay, here's our little girl with her frame, and as you can see, I took just some blue ink and did a little bit of stenciling here on the corners of the frame, just to give it a little bit of something unusual to it. Now, I did our first page, and I did the first page as an old envelope. And also, I added a very old page, one of the cover pages for a book from back in the 1950s. I have no idea who this person is, but I liked the handwriting and thought it would be neat to put it in there, because it gives lots of writing space as well. And even though this is something that we are going to decorate and have a lot of fun with decorating, it's still a journal. So I wanted to have writing space. Now inside this envelope, I put this picture. And this picture is of Alexander Pope. And this was the author of the book that this page right here came out of. The two of these were glued together, by the bookmaker. So I just thought it would be fun to put that picture in here for some, to have, because it was interesting, and it went with the book cover. So it's something unique. So this is the first page. Then I did a little more stenciling on this, because this is a scrapbook paper page. And this is our second page right here. And our third page. And as you can see, the pages are alternating as they fold back and forth to make the book. And so they're going back and forth, and each one is going to be decorated and have lots of wonderful things with them. This is kind of cool. It's a picture of some old fans. They run from $195 to $450 a piece. Wow. What made it interesting to me is my grandmother's sister. They both immigrated here from England. My grandmother came here first, and she worked for a number of years and saved up money to be able to bring her younger sister here. And so she brought her little sister here, and her little sister was an opera performer. She performed in operas back in the 20s and the 30s, and in New York City. And she owned things that look like these fans. Not necessarily the feather ones, but like this one for sure. And so it's interesting to see something, a historical document that shows some of the cool things. One of the cool things that she had in her stuff, that was her souvenirs or reminiscent things from where she performed in the opera. And I thought that was kind of neat. Now, the way that this book is going together, as obviously you can see they're alternating pages, but the way that you actually put these pages in is, first of all, you decide how much of this page would you like to have for your next page. How much paper room? Okay, I'll do something with this. But how much space would you like to have? So you lay it down where you want it, and then you hold it in place here with your hand so that it doesn't move around on you. And I thought I felt that move. Hang on a second. You're going to hold it in place. Let me pull this down a little bit, see if that looks better. Okay, that's fine. But you hold it so that the front is where you want it to be, and you turn it over, and you lay it down like this. And then after you've done that, you're going to put glue on this side, and you glue it down. As you can see, here are pieces of the other papers. This had a bigger piece, so it's covering the ones that are already down there. But as you can see, there are layers of papers here. So this is all going to go on the back, and then when we're all done adding pages, we will have one final cover that will cover that entire thing. That very back cover that we have that I was describing earlier is going to cover all of that. Now, when you're gluing, adding your pages, you can add glue, but you do not want to get too close to the bottom. You want to keep it where you're away from that bottom part. And the reason for that is because when you fold this up, it needs some give in order to be able to accommodate the fact that you've got so many layers of stuff going on. So if you had it all together in one spot, where it couldn't, where it was glued all the way down here, it would make it hard for the layers before it and it to be able to kind of give back and forth like they need to make this work. So now you see you've got this, and now you've got another layer. So this is what I'm doing right now in fixing this together. And no, I have not done, sorry, a lot of pollen out today. I'm a little scratchy throated. Okay, so this page is going to have a flip out. See, it pulls out. I hope I'm still in screen. Okay, it's going to pull out, and I'm going to put a pretty little tag of some sort, something to indicate that this pulls out like this, so that if a person looked at it and didn't know, they'd know to pull it out. And then like on the inside here, there will be writing space here. I just put this in, and then there's the whole rest of this page that'll be decorated in some fashion or form. Now, I chose to fold it at about here to give it enough space, approximately, because you lay this in where you want it. Let's see, I need it, this one's a little wider, so I need it to fit height-wise. All right, so we've got that in place. Now, let's pick this up, hold it in place, and let's fold it over. like so. Whoops, that just moved. Sorry, got to do that again. It's very easy for these to move because they are slick and they just move. So here we go. Let's try this again. Got that. Got this. Lay it down very gently like so. And we're going to put glue on this little flap that's sitting there. And it doesn't take a very large flap, actually, to glue it down, you know? It really doesn't. You just got to have enough room to fold over and get a good grab on the other side. And here, we're going to fold it lightly with our hand, and then you bring it on over, and you bring it down, just like this. And you gently fold that in place, make sure it's down good. And you don't, on this, in some paper gluing, you want to get really close to the edges. On this, you don't want to get totally close to the edges because you don't want glue seeping out all over the place. So if you go in, you know, maybe 1/8 of an inch or so in from the edges when you're gluing it, the glue won't seep out. And it doesn't take just monumental amounts of glue. All right, now let's flip it over and see what we've got. Now we have our lovely lady and her little hats, etc. And she's got, you know, this flips over this way. And then the next sheet will flip over and come this direction. Now, the next item that I have is an envelope. And as you can see, I did put some ink around this on both sides. But as you can see, I put some paper inside so that it wouldn't be just plain white. So when I put something in this envelope, when you go to look at it, it'll have this pretty, you know, paper here. So that you don't have just, you know, white paper. And with this one, we're going to come over here. Now with this one, we have to look at this carefully and line it up. And we want to use this. See, you've got the envelope, the back of the envelope, so we want to pull it gently to where this comes to the edge. That crease is kind of at the edge of the page. And then you're going to hold it there and flip it over, lay it down, just like so. And then you're going to pull this back, gently fold it. And when you do that, it puts a gentle light crease in it to help it be folded. Then we will take our glue and get the glue monster off of the glue. Okay, hang on. Let me grab a piece of paper there. I'll smear that off of there so the glue's not going everywhere. But we will take this. I am not going to put any glue in this bottom area right here. I'll start up maybe a 1/2 inch or so and put glue above that. And I don't put it out to the very edge. Just, you know, some. You're just trying to stick it down because all this is going to get covered. It's not going to be exposed at all. So it's going to be protected. And once it's down, it's down. And you don't have to worry about that anymore. And see, this just glues right here. Feel just a tiny bit of glue there. The beauty of the silicone glue is you can kind of rub it like that and it just comes right up. It doesn't stay on the paper and smear everywhere. It just comes right off. So now we have our next page, which is this lovely old envelope. And like I said, you want it to have some give so that as you're decorating the pages, this thing is going to expand in size as we decorate it. And we need to have enough room that the page can still open. As you can see, there is a space here. That creates the effect of a small spine for each page. Each page is doing that same thing. This one you notice it more because it's inked right there. So it makes you, excuse me, it makes you see it more because it's inked. Now, next page, and we're alternating left and right hinged. And that's just the way that you do with this. Next page is this cute page with a sewing machine. Now, I had started out, if this were just blank like this, I would line it up to where I wanted it. And then, once again, hold it. Hang on, I got to get this lined up straight because I can't see very well what I'm doing this way. All right, line it up, like so. Flip it over like so. Make sure we look like we're lined up pretty good. All right, now, once again, leave this area at the bottom and just come up through here. Get the glue down. Hang on. Sorry, we're starting to go through this bottle of glue and I just totally moved it. Okay, so I'm gonna have to refix it because I just moved it. So very carefully, I am going to come back over here, very gently put this back in place, like so. Get it set, like so. Comes down a little bit. There we go. Now, take that. Oops, and I moved it. Gotta pick this up. Sorry, it's harder to do this when you got one hand tied up. Get that lined up correctly. Come around this way with it. Okay, this is my fold that I've got in place is lined up this way a little bit further. So since I had already creased that fold, I'm going to let that help me on this. Yes, everything looks lined up. Now we bring it up, fold it over. We're doing this for each page. And because these pages are not heavy, they're all like book page weight. They're not real heavy. So because of that, you're able to actually have some ability to have more pages than like when we do our one with the envelopes. You're going to find out we can only do about maybe 10 at most that would be appropriate for this without getting into some real adjustments with the spine, because the envelopes are like twice as thick as each one of these pages is. So it gets, you know, it gets to be a little bit cumbersome. You can do it, but it just gets a little bit harder to do. Now, this is such a cute page. I just love this. This is out of that old couture, you know, from the 1800s to the 1980s, 1880s to 1980s. And this page, I just thought this was a really pretty page. And I'm enjoying using these pages in here. So let's get this lined up where it belongs. It's a little bit, okay, that looks good. We turn this over and glue this down. As you can see, I did ink some of these in that blue that I'm using on the stenciling because I just thought it looked pretty. Inking is something that you can do or not do. It is purely by choice. There are people out there, I just thought of somebody else I need to put down on the YouTube channel. I was starting a list of places that I like to go, and I just thought when I said that about the inking, it reminded me of somebody who is extremely well known and makes boatloads of really nice stuff. She and some of her family members work together, and they do some beautiful, beautiful work. They are Australian living in Italy, and they come and go from Australia back and forth to visit family, but they are a delightful family. And with them, Rachel, she doesn't do anything in the way of inking. She just doesn't care for the way it looks, and so she doesn't ink anything that I've ever seen her put down on a book. And she uses, living in Italy, she has access to finding things that in America you just can't find, because you don't have world history going on around you of the age that you have when you're living in Italy. That's just, you know, that's all there is to it. Stuff is there that's available that is way older and more amazing than what's available in the States, unless you happen to come across it, you know, just by accident from maybe a family who moved here and brought it with them, or perhaps a military member who brought things from overseas. You know, it's just not something you see very often. So anyway, Roxy's creation, Roxy Designs, or I'll look it up and put it on the list. It's Roxy Creations or something like that. Okay, so this is our next page. Bring it over here, lay it down, put us some glue going, and get this puppy down, because we are almost done. There's only like 2 or 3 more pages to do, and we'll have the pages down on this, which I'm very excited about. This, I am not even going to attempt to complete this entire book right now. I wanted to get it put together and go over some basic things that we'll be doing with the decorating, but we will be doing decorating for next week. It's just too big. We'd have a 3-hour-long video if we did that or more, and nobody wants to watch that. I don't even want to make that, much less make y'all watch it. Yeah, it looks like we've got 2 more pages here. And like I said, this is absolutely adorable. And you can do this for any time of the year. These are fun for Christmas. You can give somebody this like at a, early Christmas gift, even a Thanksgiving gift for the holiday season, and have it where somebody can use this for everything from Christmas lists to thank you note lists to letters from Santa, or to Santa, just to put in all your cool stuff from the holiday. If you've got children and there's things you want to keep to remember, there's just so many things you could use one of these little books for. They're not huge. They are reasonable size, so they're not humongous, and they're fun to mess around with, and you can just have fun with them. I'm sorry. By the way, this is that caramelized paper. It's very, very old paper. This paper is probably, I don't know, 40, 50 years old. I'm trying to remember when the book was printed that it came out of, and honestly, I don't recall. But I know that it's quite old. So yeah, we can set our paper up here, turn it over. And when we're doing this, we want this to be a little bit snug, but not too much, because like I said, when you start decorating these pages, they're going to get chunky. And when they get chunky, it can make it where the thing doesn't want to lay down. And that's not something we want to have to deal with. But I like this because this is a beautiful writing paper. And so if somebody wanted to write and journal, there's going to be lots of places for that. Because one of the things, when you do lots of decorating and you make chunky monkeys and, do all this stuff, sometimes you can forget that, hey, this is for writing in. This is a journal. And you can end up decorating so much that, it's hard to use the thing. And so it's just one of those lovely things that you got to be aware of. Okay, this envelope is going to be the first page. It is going to be the cover page. And I just thought it was beautiful. Lavender color. Okay, let's put that like that. I'll put that here. Put some glue on this baby. If we can get the glue to come out, we'll put some glue on it. Alright, there you go. Darn, I just realized I'm not quite in center. This needs to go this way a little bit. Okay, that should do it. Yeah, that should do it. Here we go. And you know what? This is a handmade product. It is not intended to be store-bought perfect. That's part of what you do things like this for, is because they are not going to be store-bought perfect. They are going to be a unique piece of art that everyone can enjoy. You know what I just realized? I put this on backwards. from what I thought I was going to do originally. But actually, I kind of like it because the piece of paper that I have planned to put in there, I got to find it real quick. Hang on a minute. I just moved it out of the way before I started filming. It's got to be here somewhere. Crud. Where are you? Come on. That's not it. Maybe this is it. Here we go. The piece of paper that I was going to put in this thing and I'm going to glue it down here. It is a pattern piece for out of a like 1980s or 70s or something doll magazine. And I was just going to slide that in here as something fun to have out there. And I think I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make it, I'm going to have to fold it differently so it will fit the envelope more appropriately, or trim it down, one or the other, because I made this before I realized what I was going to do with it. Either that or I'll do something different in this envelope. I'm going to need something special in this, poking out of this, or peeking out of this envelope now, because I had intended on putting it down this side up, and dummy me sat here and put it on this side up. And this is what happens when you're crafting. Sometimes you have little, what you would call happy mistakes, is what Bob Ross used to call them. And I tend to think Bob Ross is a pretty smart man. So I'll go with him on that. This is just a happy mistake, or a happy change in what we're doing. So I'm going to think about that. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, there's 16 pages in this. And in that 16 pages, also, by the way, they don't have to overlap like that. If that's too annoying to have them overlap like that, you can also just go bloop and boop, and they'll all sit like that too. So you have all your right-sided pages, and you go through and do all that. Then you got all your left-sided pages. So you can put these together any way you want to. When you're flopping back and forth, they can go together just however you like. That's not a big deal. What I'd like to do now is explain a little bit more about how they finish, and what we'll do when you're finishing it as well. What we do is we use like a piece of chipboard, and I don't know if I have any chipboard handy or not. May not. But the chipboard gets wrapped up in a piece of paper. Like, okay, this tablet. Actually, this would be a nice paper to do it in. I'll take that out right there and have it. What it's going to be is a piece of chipboard, the same, a little bit larger, not the same size. It'll be, hang on a second, I'm coming with it. It'll be a little bit larger than the book overall. See, where things kind of stick out a little bit here, we're going to try, hang on, I'm sorry, I got to turn it this way so I can see it. What we're going to do is, that's not attached to anything, let me move that. What we're going to do is, see how it's sitting here? There's a little bit on either side of it, about an 1/8 of an inch, maybe and not a 1/4 of an inch, maybe an 1/8 of an inch different. And we're going to do this one the same way up here at the top, and then we'll measure it out and do it the same way here. That piece of chipboard is going to get wrapped. We're going to use this paper because it comes from this set. It looks good with it. But we're going to wrap that piece, and it is going to be on the back of this. So what you will see is, you'll see this on the well, actually, you'll see this on the front in that little bitty space all the way around. And the way you'll see that is because the back is going to be solid, this color. And what you'll do is, when you get to the corners and you get to, make it, to put this together, well, you'll realize this is going to be half this size. But when you do it, you'll use mitered corners, and you'll fold each of the sides around it, and it'll create a solid look on this back part. And that part, if it looks good, that part can sit like it is. If not, you can make another little piece and cover it and lay it down there. So that's how it finishes. But when you go to put that and attach it to this to create the finished product, when you get ready to actually put it together, you're going to take, okay, this is not what I'm going to use to do it with, but it's just laying here on the desk. You would take the whatever thing you're going to do to tie it closed, you would take that and glue it down inside between these two pieces. That way the it's attached together and it's strong. And then you would, when you finish filling it up with goodies, you'll just go in here and tie a bow and, you know, and seal it that way. But that's after it's all decorated. So we'll be starting decorations next week. I was going to do this do all of this one week and all of the other one the next week, and it's just not humanly possible. I'm sorry. I've already put over 40 hours into this week, pulling together all the materials, researching and doing everything the way it works, practicing, playing around with it, trying to make it work. So yeah, I've invested quite a bit of time in this, and it's just not possible to do this in a reasonable format for you to get it all in one sitting for the creating and the decorating. So we're doing the creating this week. Next week, we are going to do the decorating, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So I invite you this week for practicing for doing your one with the envelopes. You can take some papers and just whatever you have. It can be magazine pages. It can be, you know, different kinds of papers. If you happen to have some scrapbook paper or even some sketchbook paper, you know, whatever it is that you might happen to have at home that's handy. You do not have to go and spend a bunch of money on doing this. You know, it's just not required. But you can take different papers, envelopes. You know, you can see, you know, I used 3 different envelopes in here. So envelopes, papers, you can use things like if you had, say, an old letter or something that you'd like to turn into a page. You know, this is, and if you use the envelopes, I suggest you take and place something decorative down inside it to cover that. And then that way you can slide things in and out easily. And then you've got all your different kinds of pages. I did start just playing around a little bit there. Like with this, that is absolutely gorgeous. Old paper. You know, just look around the house. See what you have. If you have any old papers that are special to you, like old letters from, you know, grandparents or different people that wrote to one another or to you, that, you know, old birthday cards, things like that. All of these things are perfectly good for this. If you've got things that are oversized for what you want to make, this is the kind of thing you can do to make them fit. There are other ways to do it too, but this is one way you can do. Look for just interesting book pages. This is an interesting book page. You've got the fans there, and on this side you have lovely ladies with hats pictures. You know, these are just beautiful. This is out of that clothing book that I have, and it's like sketch artwork, you know, and then there on this side there's an actual photograph of someone, you know, so, and then down here I attached, okay, I think I mentioned earlier about washi tape. This is a piece of washi tape. It has a floral design on it, and when I put it down, I did add a small amount of glue, not much, but a small amount of glue, especially at the corners, so it doesn't come up. But that will make sure that it won't come apart, because as soon as I turned it over, it started trying to come up. So I was like, oh, okay, can't have that. So the glue, I did not put it where it would be inside this little edge, because I wanted this to have the freedom for the paper to move. But that's, you know, that's one of the things. And then in the envelope. And now we have our lovely little girl in the middle, and she looks all cute and adorable, and we have all these beautiful things that are going to be adornments to where she is. And then we'll have a lovely tie to this when it's finished, and it'll just be really, really fun. So if you want to make one, find yourself a composition book. Use like the front cover, cut you out a piece out of the front cover. Do the same thing from the back cover. That's the same, the back covers a lot of times are thicker, and use that for your big piece like this. But you can cut those out and then hunt for papers, envelopes, interesting things that you see that might go. Lots of interesting things. I mean, all different kinds of things. If you've got old, like a grandparent's marriage certificate, I'll teach you how you can mount that in such a way that you can include that as a page, or as something that's slid inside a page. So you can really do some special things with this. If you wanted to do one for, say, your family history, like a family tree, on the middle page back here, you could put a picture of a family tree. And then on your pages here, as they come and go back and forth, you could have information about different people or different events, and, regarding the family, and just, put it in there as to how it goes, and just have a great time with it. And think of what a treasure this would be to your children or grandchildren to have something like that. Writing down just little stories that you heard as a child. I have very small stories where it was just little fragments of a bigger story that my grandmother told me from time to time. She would tell me something about her childhood, and usually it was only a couple of sentences, so there's not much of a quote-unquote story there. It was just favorite memories of hers. So you could set it up like, memories, and little quotations of things that were fun memories for different individuals in your family, and put the little quotation of what the memory is, and then underneath that, jot down the name of the person. And you can type those out on your computer and print them out, in beautiful fonts, or you can handwrite them. I mean, the sky's the limit on what you can do with this stuff. But learning to make books that will serve you and your family is such a worthwhile endeavor. It is so worthwhile. And there are things, it can also make things, give us time to reminisce on wonderful times and record those things, and help to boost our spirits and help us have happy memories of the day. And all of a sudden, whatever you're dealing with doesn't seem to be quite so bad, because you're over here being delighted at family memories and stories. So, yeah, I think it's worthwhile. And next week, we'll be doing decorating this puppy. And I look forward to us having our next Mayday Monday. And happy Mayday Monday, guys. Love y'all. Bye.